Um, Vince McMahon pretty much came out and was mocking the fact that Shane lost, and even though he would do anything to try to win, and it was still all for naught. Um, Shane would eventually come out and just say, "Hey guys, thank you very much," and I appreciate it. He gets a huge pop, and then he goes, "Well, I lost. Goodbye." About to walk out, and Vince just couldn't accept that. He's like, "Wait, whoa, whoa, you're not gonna show me up. Now you can have Raw for one night or temporarily, whatever that means." Andy, Shane McMahon ran Raw, but we didn't really see a lot of him aside from maybe a few segments. Do you foresee him doing a few more shows, or do you think this is gonna be it?
I've got an horrible feeling, knowing how the WWE work, it's going to be a one-time deal, like Vince said. But I'd like to think, if what I've watched tonight as anything go by, I'd like to think there's going to be a few more. I don't know whether Vince is waiting for the internet reaction or not, but he basically said he wants to watch the sinking ship sink, and it didn't. It sailed quite merrily. So I think even he himself will be surprised.
Yeah, I have to agree. Lance, Shane McMahon back. He always just can take the show. He always a big the fan. Let me start over. The fans are a huge fan of him, and he's awesome. So, Lance, what's your thought?
Sorry. Do you think that just to piss Shane off, he might next week turn around and say to Shane, "I'll take back what I said. You did a very good show. I'll put you on the writing team, but you're under Stephanie and Triple H as like a punishment."
You know what, Lance? Andy just brought up a very good point. Could we possibly see another start of a sibling rivalry between Shane and Stephanie?
Possibly, but really, they haven't been going that way, and it's possible, but I just don't see that happening unless they do the whole brand A versus brand B. Then I can see rivalry there, but just for Raws, I don't quite see that personally. But, yeah.
All right, and you know what? We did see a lot of NXT debuts. One of the first one was Apollo Crews. It's really great to see a lot of this NXT talent coming up. Crews would come down and take on Tyler Breeze and pretty much squash him. I mean, Breeze got a few shots in, but either way, Apollo Crews gets a win with what I like to call the Ultimate Warrior Press Slam, and he hit it with a jumping moonsault. Lance, you're a big fan of NXT. What was your thoughts about Apollo Crews coming down?
Really, Apollo? I didn't quite think he was quite one of the guys I was expecting to see tonight. I was expecting to see Balor, Joe, some of them, but hey, cool. He did a good job, so cool.
Well, on a quick note, from what I've heard, I don't know if this is true, so don't hold me to this, that Samoa Joe's not going to be coming up. I think he's just trying to be a trainer. Now, Andy, I know you're not a big fan of NXT. I know you very rarely watch it, but what was your thought of Apollo Crews?
Apart from, I don't like the name. I think it sounds too much like Apollo Creed. I was impressed with what he did, but I just don't like the name. It sounds too much like Apollo Creed, and it's pretty tongue-in-cheek, really.
Yeah, I have to agree. And after that, Roman Reigns comes to the ring, gets a huge set of boos, and he just looks at the fans and like, really? He goes, "You know what? I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy, but I'm the guy." And then we see Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, thank you. Again, I'm fucking up a lot tonight, guys. You just got to deal with it. And they're all saying that they want a shot. And eventually we find out the main event is going to be a number one contenders match between all of these guys. Now, real quick, I want to jump to the main event for a second. We found out that Sami Zayn was taken out early in the night. And so now who was replaced? By Cesaro. And it was really good to see Cesaro coming in. But I want to go back and get to the next match, which was another debut from the NXT. And that, of course, was Baron Corbin. Now, I have always been a fan of Corbin. Again, another great NXT talent coming up. I think he could definitely be another one of the next big things, but he's going to have to earn some stripes. Andy, what was your take on Baron Corbin?
I was quite impressed. For somebody that I don't know a great deal about, I was quite impressed. In fact, I thought he was one of the Wyatt Brigade, but obviously he isn't. But I thought he was one of the Rotunda kids.
And, again, Andy, I know, like you said, you'd never watched NXT, but this is the talent that's coming up. And, I really think that you should just take some time out and just start to follow it. Because, as we all said, and I think even Lance would agree with me, NXT is the saving grace of the WWE as we speak.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the only problem is that they bring in far too many. I know we've asked for it, but I think they bring in far too many talents in, and somebody's going to get lost in the shuffle. They're bringing them in far too quick. They should have probably one new talent per month, but they seem to be bringing like 4 or 5 in a week, and somebody will get missed in the shuffle and get overlooked. And in 10 years' time, we'll be thinking, I wonder why he wasn't a big star. He should have been.
Well, again, you just made a point because it takes them time to earn those stripes. Now we're getting fame down in NXT, brought them up, and of course, some have made it, others haven't. Now the Shield members, Reigns, Seth Rollins, and of course Dean Ambrose, all made that spots. And then there were guys like the Ascension, or what we call them, the LOD crack babies, that just went nowhere. So bringing up all this new talent this fast is basically a sign of saying that the future is now.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong. When I last watched NXT with any regularity, I agreed with what it was, but obviously somewhere along the line it's changed because they basically said females and males are going to be coming through the Raw roster from NXT. The champion from NXT male and the female champion will then progress by winning the belt. They progress to Raw. Now it seems as though whether you've had a belt or not, if you're good enough, you progress to Raw. They seem to be now bypassing the belt. Now I think it would be better if they win a belt in NXT, as originally was planned, and then that elevates you to Raw, because obviously we all know it's fixed or it's predetermined.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Yeah, they think he's the best guy for Raw. We're pushing him on Raw. Now it seems as though they're having people who've not even fought in a title match on Raw. So it seems to be bypassing everything that they said was going to happen. Again, it's typical WWE moving the ring apron a bit, or moving the goalposts, as we say in the UK.
Well, you do. Again, you have a very to a point. I have to agree with you, but I think when they win the title down in NXT and they usually lose it, that's a sign of them moving up. But that wasn't the case in this situation. There were a lot of guys moved up, and Lance, again, this was a great opportunity. But let's jump over to what happened with the Divas inauguration, where Charlotte pretty much came out to the ring. Several Divas are in the ring, and I hate to say, what's with Ric Flair continuing to steal the spotlight?
It's what he do.
And excuse me, as Ms. Shit just corrected me, it's the women's champion, not the Divas champion. So now there's a whole bunch of women. Can
I just ask a question? Because I'm not 100% sure of the answer. Have they dropped the Divas Championship now, or are they going to have both?
No, they haven't. Well, for the moment, it's been dropped now. If there's a brand split, which a lot of people have been wanting and talking about, they could. But I think for right now, what we can say for all intents and purposes, the Divas is now retired. The Divas title, excuse me. Now, during that segment, Natalya comes out. All the Divas pretty much leave because they felt it was being disrespected. But Natalya comes in and pretty much puts Charlotte in her place. And, they kind of came out to Charlotte started saying, well, you know what, the Flair family is always going to be bigger than the Hart family. And that started the fight. And Natalya puts Charlotte in the sharpshooter, but of course, yes, the sharpshooter, and Rick pulls him out. And that was pretty much about it. Moving on now, guys. Again, we talked about NXT. This was pretty much the main topic of the night. But one tag team that I really never liked was Enzo and Cass. Now, Enzo and Cass, Big Cass. I understand that they have a huge following in NXT, and obviously the fans they got a huge pop. But for me, I wasn't really impressed by them. Lance, your thoughts on Enzo and Cass coming up?
Well, I've seen them in NXT. They work well. They're over as hell. But, and honestly, I'm excited to see what they can do. I mean, we've seen them on the main roster before. I guess technically because they were on between Fastlane and Mania. Help me.
Roadblock?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, still, I think the promos are better than the wrestling skills. And if you ask me, I think Big Cass, honestly, is getting lost in this tag team. I think they're not doing many favors. Andy, what's your thoughts on this tag team?
I think it seems to be an NXT thing again. I think to myself, the more pathetic and unbelievable the gimmick, the more the WWE are pushing people. Because when he come in and started prancing around the ring, at the first fucking Red Rooster had come back, and I'm thinking, who is this jack-off? And the crowd are like, are doing the dance and everything, and they're singing along, and they're coming out with their, like, oh, you can suck my cock and I'll suck yours, bollock. And I'm thinking, what is happening to wrestling? Am I just getting too old for this shit? Because you know me with the jerk-offs with the trombone, I just don't get where that's going, and the crowd are just marking out for them, and I'm thinking, are the Americans all on fucking drugs?
Well, you know what? You know I am. Your hardcore host. Actually, I just smoked a little bit of weed. But
I think the WWE have smoked a whole forest of fucking weed, because the more pathetic your gimmick, the more chances you've got of being on the TV, and it's like watching. It's embarrassing to the point. It's like watching 1970s fucking wrestling.
Well, let me jump in there for a second.
They'll be coming in there. They'll be coming out in fucking spandex next.
Well, okay. Again, let me jump in here, Andy. Now you talked about the New Day, and the guy with the trombone is Xavier Woods, and I have to admit, believe it or not, this gimmick has kind of grown on me. Some of the stuff is like, what the fuck, but you can't help it laughing. And they really got a big push, and they kind of hinted that they might be breaking a record because if you notice in the past, whenever WWE says, oh, they've had the title for X amount of days, it's a sign that they're going to try to break a record. Lance, your thoughts on New Day?
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's funny and then sometimes, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, to me, it's very childish and very babyish, and it's not like the audience that WWE. I think they're struggling with what audience they're going for, because they try and say they're going for PG. PG kids don't buy into it. If you notice, it's the adults that find it and use it. Like, how many children, probably under the age of 10, watch Family Guy?
Well, here's the thing.
Americans over the age of 30 love it.
Well, here's the thing, Andy. When you have, like, the New Day, they kind of cater to the small, the kids, because the kids think they're just being silly. Meanwhile, if you look at a lot of the aneurysms of what they're doing with, like, the innuendos. Thank you. Thank you. Thank God.
Sexual innuendos.
Yes, the sexual innuendos. That is going a little bit. I wouldn't say the attitude are. It's kind of like a mix between PG and attitude. They're just coloring outside the lines a little bit. Even during that segment, they came out with what I call their glowing dildos, and they took the bootio and kind of like put it back and forth where the thing looks like basically like a fucking segment. Like a little.
Do you know what I think would sell better? There's at least two guys that we know in the WWE that have come out as gay. Now, if it was them doing the gimmick, I think it would be funny here, because everything they seem to do is gay orientated, but we all know that they're all supposedly straight. So to me, it doesn't really work. It's like a straight person acting camp doesn't work. Where if it was, I can't remember the guy that came out recently, the coloured guy.
Darren Young.
If it was him doing it, I think to the English audience, it would sell better, because it'd say, typical gay.
Well,
now, I know that's an honourable thing to say,
yes.
but people look at gay people and they think they should be camp, if that's a word in America. They are extremely camp, and I think it would sell better if it was a gay person, not a straight.
Well, you know what? I'm going to disagree with you there because in America, I mean, yes, you do have, as what they would call the flamers, and I mean no disrespect for the record. I do have a son who is homosexual, and he is not like that at all. He's very much masculine, but it is what it is. I don't want to get on that kind of a subject too much because I think we're drawing away from it. But the idea with New Day is they're just having fun and they're doing all this shit. It's like an OMFG, oh my fucking god, that situation. But let's move on. Zack Ryder came out with this, after winning the IC title last night in a ladder match, and pretty much was the Miz comes down and wants an IC title match. Ryder gives it to him. The match itself was really nothing impressive. But what happens is during the match, Miz has an altercation with Ryder's dad, who was at ringside, and pretty much what happens is Miz's dad, pushes him to the ground. Now, who comes out, which we haven't seen in a while, is but Maurice, which happens to be Miz's husband, and we haven't seen. Say again.
Miz's wife, not husband.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. Well, she does have a bit of a butterface, but that's beside the point. So, anyways, this causes a distraction, and now Miz wins the title. So, Andy, he's pretty much a transitional champion.
To be perfectly honest, I read a lot of the internet stuff, and a lot of internet people are saying Zack Ryder is not a good singles competitor. He needs a tag team partner. All I can say is, my God, get your dad in the gym, because he's obviously doing a lot of workout.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because down in NXT, he's in a tag team called the Hype Bros, which I think is absolutely stupid and foolish because Zack Ryder needs to get away from that gimmick. Ryder, for what he is not a bad wrestler. He's not the greatest worker, but I think the gimmick's really keeping him down. Lance, your thoughts on Maurice making a return?
First, I was like, who the fuck is this? Then I heard when I said Maurice, I was like, oh, I see where this shit's going. I got down the road. I can almost call it now. In either Payback or Extreme Rules is going to be Miz and Maurice versus Zack Ryder and whatever the hell his daddy name is.
You know what? I disagree, but you know what? Let's move on to the main event. As I said before, Cesaro came down, and he kind of came down with a hitman look, and I kind of liked it. He pulls it off, and he's in his usual tights, Speedo tights. And he, of course, replaced Sami Zayn, who was injured earlier in the night. So it was AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, Cesaro, and Kevin Owens. And this probably was one of the better matches of the night, if not the best match of the night. And I have to admit, guys, I was shocked. AJ Styles gets the win with a style clash on Jericho, and he is now our new #1 contender. Lance, your thoughts?
Phenomenal. And yes, pun intended. But anyway, I kind of see before the next pay-per-view them, if they do this, probably, wait a minute, that was under Shane. He never got clearance for that or something. Just screw him out of the title shot somehow, I guess, maybe.
Well, here's another factor. Triple H is also, he lost the title at WrestleMania, so he's entitled to another, he's entitled to a rematch. Andy, we now have a #1 contender plus Triple H. Do you think even Triple H is going to cash in on the rematch, or are we just going to see AJ versus Roman?
I've got an horrible feeling, and I hope it isn't. It's going to be a triple threat.
Oh, God.
Well, the triple threat, would you mean that Seth Rollins would be returning? Which, again, there was talks that he was going to be in the back or even make an appearance that obviously did not happen, whether it was cut or never planned. I don't know. I mean, with internet rumors, you really can only take them with a grain of salt. But anyway, I mean, that would be good. I mean, a lot of fans have been waiting for Seth Rollins to come back. Even though he left as a heel, when he comes back, he's going to get a huge pop, and you can only wonder where that's going to happen there. But again, right now, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio's Raw Reaction. Overall score, I'd have to give it a 3.5 out of 5. A lot of good spots, a few dull areas, but I really have no complaints. Main event, definitely the best match of the night. Lance, over to you. Your thoughts?
I give it 3.75 out of 5. Good little show. Best match, yeah. The main event. Worst? Hell, I don't know.
All right, Andy, over to you.
I would give it, believe it or not, a 4 out of 5. There was a couple of sloppy spots in there, but I think it's the best Raw I've seen this year by far.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Maybe 3.5 is undershooting it, but I'll just keep it at 3.5. There was one of the better Raws, especially compared to last week's Raw, which I couldn't. I gave it a -5. It was that shit. But this was an awesome, really pay-per-view. I mean, an awesome Raw. Excuse me again. I'm fucking up all night. So, but overall, again, great to see a lot of this NXT talent coming up. Obviously, NXT taking over the WWE main roster. The future obviously is now. But we're going to wrap things up here. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head. And if you want to join us in the chat room, and if you want to join the conversation, head on over to facebook.com in the group sections under the HWR chat room. Also, if you want to listen to more podcasts like this, head on over to youtube.com under the name HWR Show. And we're going to kick it over to Andy. Andy, you're at SlowContent.com. What do you got going on over there?
Yeah, we've got another investigation in 2 weeks' time. Nothing planned before then, but we have got some hopefully good stuff coming up in. I'm not going to say any more than I think we've got some good, better, creepier type venues for June, July. Contracts are being signed, pens being put to paper, so hopefully we should have getting back to better venues instead of the just plain Jane run-of-the-mill stuff. So if you're into that sort of thing, keep checking back for updates on the page, but you will be seeing hopefully something a little bit extraordinary and a bit out of the ordinary from our usual run-of-the-mill stuff in the summer period. All
right, and again, guys, if he is a true ghost hunter, a ghost investigator, and we're gonna kick it over to Lance. Lance, you're over at youtube.com/LanceMustTV. What do you got going on over on YouTube?
I got album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck gourmet cooking videos, music equipment reviews, some rants, and every Wednesday I go live for Lance Moss TV and friends. Never know who's going to show up, and well, hit me up on Twitter, and it's at Lance Moss TV.
All right, and with that, for the Hardcore Crew, I am your hardcore host, Rickhead, saying, we'll see you when we see you.